And Ground Zero will not go quiet into that good night as they pick up a return game against Team Bliss in this best of fives in the grand finals. And it was beautifully executed. The lesson we've learned here, though, Skimmy, do not give Lemus a hyper carry.
Well, that's it. Yeah, it really is the case. I'll be the only person in the league to still play this fasting center. I'll be the one that looks to try and play these hyper carries. You give me an opportunity and I will pop off. And yeah, frustration for Fido. Really wasn't his game, this one. Certainly some lingering upsetness, I suppose, from game one. But it's the rest of the team that really rallied behind them, right? We've got the scaling threats. And they came online a lot earlier than anticipated and really kept Bliss guessing. They thought they did enough in the early game. They thought they had the perfect start with those roams from Aladoric, from those kills by the Corki, from the fact that Kevy got to just farm up a Storm, but it wasn't enough. It really wasn't enough.
It's definitely a different game we're seeing from this GZ lineup too. Like, I think the first game they sort of was struggling. Team Bliss was playing very fast, very aggressive. In this game, they said, look, we can turn that. Like, we want to be able to get into these fights. And Lemus, like I said, very strong on this Zeri pick, but as well, the Camille tally. You can't give this champion to TN. He's just too damn good.
I think that in response to that, Vi did a good job to shut that one down. We saw TN having that quiet game on this champion, going even in lane, but when he did find the advantage in the Triforce, he was individually just outscaling his lane opponent, right? That's what we're very used to seeing from TN on the champion. Never falling behind in lane, never doing bad, but just scaling up and winning the game. And this is what we saw from the Ground Zero comp. They pretty much locked in their Apex champs in every single role. And they're like, okay, guys, you want to take a game from us? We're going to play our best champions and just look so much better in game 2.
Yeah, well, especially you can call out Shernfire on that Zyra there too. 31,000 damage, a solid 4-5k damage above his counterparts and the enemy team too. It wasn't a quiet game for him, but he just played so well early, and it was sort of like almost under the radar because it was just so well played, Skimmy.
It was, yeah. I mean, really just cruised on through, and when it came to the objectives, it was like, all right, we've given everything to the Carthus. Yeah, it's a little bit worrying, but don't worry, trust, we have the scaling. Yeah, they can scale too, but we believe in ourselves. And it really came down to those Baron fights, those crucial fights around the Dragons where, yeah, we just feel strong enough now because we've got the split pushing pressure of the Camille. The, Redskins always having to deal with that. And when it comes to the team fights, yeah, look, we've got the crit scalers. Fido jumps in, he does enough, he soaks up a few skill shots. If he dies, it's not the end of the world because then Lemus tags himself and says, this is what Zeri can accomplish. So, yeah, not the best game for Fido, but I think he was very valuable in the end.
No, absolutely I would say he was incredibly valuable. I think just having to put up with Harry as well is just this player, again, we've said he's the greatest mid laner we've seen all split long. Fido's still putting up that fight, right? Like that's you got your dog in you because you got to keep fighting, got to keep going. It's a best of 5 series, and I think we do have some surprises from Fido coming up because he is willing to fight. But Tally as well, what do you think we could run back? Because obviously it's 1-1 now. Bliss didn't look as hot that game, still looked good, but not as hot. GZ's now got a little bit of fire in them. What can we see from the draft coming forward for this next one?
I think that what we've seen from the first 2 games is that, Ezreal is, I think it's overrated. I think it's a bit stinky, okay? Because what we're seeing is, with double mage junglers, these games are going the distance and there is no, champs that are really going to engage, tower dive, speed the game up. And I think that we should see these scaling champs come out and good read by Lemus to finally pick up the Zeri, pick up the scaling option. And, pretty much as that game went on, it was going to be comfortably in Ground Zero's hands because they had the scaling advantage. And I like the drafts, but I got to say the agency in the spot lane is so important. I think the supports need to be able to impact the map. Even though Aladoric was getting so much done on this Braum, the fact he did not have engage tool just looks so different from the side of Bliss. So even though it's probably just going to be a handshake trade of these engaged supports in the bot lane, I hope we see them come out from both sides because they look so much more stronger when they have, just agency and proactivity on the map.
Agency, proactivity, and side selection is what we have right now, what we're going to see from these games. Let's have a look where Bliss is deciding to go. And they've actually gone for red sides. They want their counter pick, Skimmy.
They do, which is interesting because it has been so blue side favored, and it does beg the question, what is their red side counter pick? What is it that they value? Because during the regular season, you'd say it's probably Aladoric who wants to support counter pick, but it's a known quantity that he's going to play the Rakan nowadays, and it feels like we're more and more leaning towards the solo lanes, be it the top lane or the mid lane, as actually the red side counter pick consideration. So, I think I'm probably leaning more so towards top. I think you can just blind pick these mid laners, it seems, these days, right? Oh, I've gone for Corki, Tristana, there's an Orianna, there's another control mage. What a surprise. Who cares what you play now? I think really it'd be a chance then for Bipanther to showcase that, hey, I can counter you, and I am going to handle you more than just the laning phase. that TN had to deal with.
Yeah, well, you mentioned that counter pick in the top side. We saw the Renekton, the counter pick into the Camille. It worked so well early, just didn't have the favorable outcome it was hoping for. But Tally, looking at this, any recurring themes that we're probably going to see again?
I think we're going to see priority on the Leona for both these teams. It just looks like the champ that is really contested between both these sides, and probably just a trade of mage junglers. I would say, something we didn't really touch on, but was really important about how this game dynamic went down was the fact that Bliss going for that level 1 invade, but, splitting the map instead of, denying that, 3-quadrant clear that we usually see from these stronger level 1s was such a big deal for Shunfire getting ahead. All of a sudden, when those camps respawn, Kevy's camps are delayed by almost a full cycle, and he just fell behind so much in terms of those camps because Shunfire just kept cycling and cycling and cycling, and that's why we saw him with, the 20, 30, 40 CS lead in the mid game, and the fact he was up 4 levels at that last team fight was such a big deal for them.
So big, especially buying a Leandre's on a back. Like, that was, I don't think we've seen that in a hot minute, because that was such a big buy, so much gold that he was just sitting on. So pretty crazy to see that he felt so comfortable in this champion. We might see the Zyra picked up again, but again, we'll have to see what this will end up looking like and what these teams want to prioritize. I personally like the Karthus. I think Kevy did quite well on the Karthus too. Like, even though Yes was behind, the Requiem still played a very crucial role in some of those big team fights, and I think that really did help Bliss at least try and get something back and negate a strong hard carry from GZ. But again, the Zyra, it's inevitable. It's just the champion, Skimmy.
It's too good. It's too good. Too quick on the clear, too annoying during the team fights, too strong with its overall power. I would be very surprised if we, continue this handshake of like, yeah, have your Zyra, have this, because it feels like it needs to go. And yeah, I feel like as the series gets more and more evolved, it's a case of, yeah, we got to deal with this Alistar. That's been banned away. I think then suddenly more attention gets put towards the jungle. Yeah, we now got to deal with the Zyra. In which case we might go back to those Amumu picks, those Brands, those Lilias, right? So it's quite interesting to see that we've already very early on into the series decided that red side is a little bit more impactful. So yeah, that's going to be my question as to what is the most valuable pick then.
Well, you know what I like about Impact? Not just the pro player, of course. I do like Impact, the pro player, but impact of your Twitch points right up there, making a big number grow ever bigger again, supporting those teams that are going to be on your screen very shortly, playing for the finals and the absolute trophy of the LCO, guys. I don't think we've even talked about it. The trophy in question is the big one here. Not only is it the prestige, but just getting to hold that above your head as best you can when you are in different cities, of course. But still, so big and so just the bragging rights, right? That's what we want.
What would they do? They'd be like something like this, like they get themselves like a little... Well done, guys.
Yeah.
Let's all raise this on Discord screen share together. Well done, lads. Couldn't have done it without you. Hey, see you at the airport together. Well done, well done.
See you in Taiwan, lads. Let's have some fun. But no, so big, and it's going to be so exciting to see. But I am very much looking forward to the next game. We'll have to see what that's going to look like, as I do believe we are getting ready for a break very soon. But still, Tally, big things, big movements. But regardless, let's go to that break and wait for game number 3, as it is so far a 4-game series. But Ground Zero versus Team Bliss. Who's going to raise that trophy? You'll have to stick around. See you there.
We're here with
Tiger.
Tiger. Prediction for the next game.
Definitely Team Bliss.
Which side are they on?
The right side, the left side? Look, they're on the correct side.
That's what's important.
Yep.
Love the jersey, mate. When did you get that?
Oh man, this was this one 2016. Yeah, shout outs to Raze and Swiper.
I'm going to take it back. Don't worry about them.
Still getting strong on Team Antic. I was rooting for you guys.
Shout out to Team Antic, man. Wish you were here. Where's Dracu? Dracu said he was going to come tonight. Did you know that?
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and he didn't come.
Oh man.
Insane.
Oh man. Shame.
Insane.
Shame.
All right.
Come over here and talk to me. No need to be shy, baby, whine on me. I'm telling you to put it down on me and wrap your hands all around my waist. But watching me all day, I wanna know what you're good for. Your eyes, them telling touch, all I need is one touch, one touch, one touch, one touch in the morning, and all through the night. You give me one touch,
Here's the reason that Kevy's after becomes the Varus. Forced out of the stopwatch, it's carnage! Only triple happening here is for Fighto. It's do or die! Here we go then. 1-1 is the scoreline in this best of 5, the final best of 5 of the year for both of these teams to showcase. We are the outright best team going over to PCS here, Tally.
And, you know, we really want to see a shift in dynamic from the series team. While it might not be optimal, right? You know, you see champs like the Zyra, the Brand, the Carthus, you always want to be playing range into that. I just think that, you know, throughout the series or throughout the playoffs, you know, this meta has changed or evolved into, you know, needing more upfront damage to really deal with what is happening in these teamfights. We're just seeing the same thing happen in, you know, our last 2 series where the game just hits the 3-item, 4-item mark, and these hyper carries are just outscaling so hard and having so much variety. But Skimmy, once again, we're seeing the Ezra run back.
That we certainly are, but I say, you know what, it doesn't matter if we have the Israel, as long as we've got the Zyra, we've got all we need. The adaptation was drop the Akshan ban, keep everything else the same, but then ban away that Camille. And I like that. Like, I think we are basically asking, it's either the Camille or the Zyra. Something has to budge to give yourself a little bit more comfort. And overall, though, it's just the same champions switching the sides.
Now, does Harry feel pigeon? He does not. So I was going to say, Skimmy, if he feels pressured into picking the Yone there, because you know, if he does not, he's going to drop. He's going to get banned out, and he might not have a, you know, optimal AD answer into Fido on the Cork in the mid lane. And we all know what like the Zyra and mage jungle or mid jungle dynamic doesn't really work. But I really like that Aladork has just picked this Alistar. You know, 6 games, 100% win rate, pretty much all of, you know, a lot credited to him. A lot of these wins are going to him, and I just think that it does so much in these team fights, just, you know, popping that ulti, you know, creating so much space, and the fact you just walk out and proc the Warmogs and heal back up, run back in, do it all over again, is such a big deal for creating space for your carries.
That it certainly is, because it's an interesting discussion, right? We saw in the Antic series, it was a case of Antic banning away the Leona, locking in the Nautilus into the Alistar matchup. This one bit, you know what, forget about the Nautilus, it's up and available. We want the Leona, we want to see how that fares into this Alistar. And Bliss still going to stick to their guns in terms of removing away the Caitlyn as well as the Misfortune. Grand Zero say, you know what, Harry, we believe you're up to some funky business. No Yasuo, no Yone.
I was going to say, do you think there's a world where this Ezreal gets flexed to mid lane and Violet plays this, you know, a scaling champ, but they pick the Zeri, and then in response, Lemus, alright, you scale, I'll scale harder. Locks in the Smolder, so you're going to be able to poke away Aladork in the bot lane. You know, such a... Alistar not known for being this insane all-in champion with a lot of pressure, so Lemus on the Smolder going to be pretty happy to lane into that one, especially with the Zeri, who's, you know, pretty weak pre-first item compared to a lot of other AD carries, but just a very scaling heavy bot side at this time, and I think it's going to allow a lot more freedom for these supports to roam around the map and start to impact the game.
All I'm excited for, Tally, is Lee Mulder. It's got its own emote. We spammed it before. I'm excited to see this champion back in action because it got a pentakill when he played it many months ago, right? So excited to see that one come back to the forefront and showcase that, yeah, if we're scaling, let's scale. Because in the last series, games were done at the 25-minute mark, and an Ezreal conversation does become a real sticking one. But if we are going the distance, if there is a little bit of fight back in Bliss now in these series, then let's go to distance. Let's actually see who the better late game scaling carry can be.
Now, who's the mid lane, Skimmy? Is it the Ezreal or is it the Zeri? I'm very curious, because is it the curse of Ezreal bot lane or is it the curse of Ezreal? I want to know if the champion can, if it's put... Okay, so it is going to the bot lane this time, so going to be, you know, at least alleviate some of that pressure that a Zeri would have had in the early game. Ezreal can, you know, generate priority into these champs, even though he doesn't really have a support who assists him at level 1. It's just a really strong level 1 champ, so they're kind of bridging their early game weakness. But I'm curious about this Zeri Corki matchup in the mid lane. We saw this one come out of Raze in the past, and he was winning the side lane quite comfortably, but really nice Ashe arrows out of Violet himself were the reason why he got shut down and was not able to take over that game completely.
Absolutely, and yeah, obviously offers so much wave clear, with the traditional build being that of the Runans with the Static Shiv, with just an abundance of mid lane control. You ramp it up into the side lanes, you're sitting pretty. Who's your real biggest threat? I mean, you can run away from the Renekton, you're going to try and run away from the Carthus. Not too many diving threats for you to really concern yourself with. No pesky Ashe arrow on this occasion, Tally. Let's lock in. It's game number 3 in this best of 5 grand final. Both teams already secured to the PCS. This is for the bragging rights.
Now, so the checklist of what we wanted to see improved, right? We wanted to see the, the supports with agency. So Braum is gone. Well, I think Braum in isolation is really good into the melee supports, really good at dealing with the 2v2s in particular, just has no synergy with these mage junglers, which are the apex of this patch. So that champ being gone is good for the, the series overall and the health of these comps overall. So the Alistair versus Leona, I think they both can have absolutely monster performances this game, so that's good to see. We see agency from both top laners as well. I think that Bio on Nara in particular has been his best performing champion throughout all of playoffs. He's had these really, really good engages. His side lane pressure and his laning phases all been really good on the champion. And Tien on this Renekton, we also what he did when he got played to a little bit and he took 2 towers by himself at the I think it was like the 16-minute mark. So just a lot of good picks for both sides. I mean, I'm really excited for this game now.
But I am certainly as well, because I want to see where the aggression comes from yet again. It started off in mid lane, really favoured Harry, but now he's going to be on another AD carry. Slightly different to the Corki, where you get to be that much more of a lane bully, right? So he gets to pass the baton back over to Fido and showcase, all right, how do you fare in this occasion? And just how much impact the supports can both find, because whilst we know Leona loves to roam, it was a little bit hard for Kurak to try and match that of the Braum last game. But an Alistair is certainly going to try and do just a fraction more.
Now, this is curious by Kevy. So, what are the things you go for on these mage junglers is you start bot, right? You re-clear to the top side, and you always want to end on the top side of the map, right? You want to be on the top side when those second set of grubs spawn. But one of the nice things about starting with the chicken golems is, you can get that extra cycle up on your first clear, which is, nice for that first base. But with Kevy's clear, he's going to end up on the bot side of the map, whereas, Schoenfire can be efficient and be on the top side of the map with all his camps cleared when those grubs do spawn. So have to see what it is going to be looking like for this team, because this Renekton is scary in the early games, Gimme, and maybe they want to, avoid that one in these early team fights.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, the Renekton certainly is going to be a bit of a bully, especially those 2 items before he truly falls off, if at all, because we've certainly seen our Demon Renektons in our past, but Nah, definitely going to be a thorn in his backside, keep him at range, be a bit tankier, have some fantastic CC setup, not only for the ganking, but also for those team fights. It's a big one for Kevy as well. He gets himself the Zyra, 200th career game. What a way to reach that milestone.
Yeah, and I would really like to see, just 200 game be a win for him. That'd be very nice to celebrate. But the nice thing for Kevy this game is they do not go for that invade, right? So his path is very clear, his respawns are clear, his camp timings are on time for what you'd really want as a jungler. Last game, that level 1 invade they went for really punished them, and that the winners should have been the Bliss bot side, but the fact they died in that 2v2 was, the downfall of the early game for the side of Bliss.
I am curious, though, as to what happens with these first ganks, because Schoenfire already popped his head into mid lane. There's the dash and there's the flash. That's job well done. I've already made mid lane a little bit easier then for Fido. Kevy says the lane to try and respond and do a gank of our own. Alador looks to try and prime this one up. As Lemus just hovers into the wall. In jumps Kurak. That's not what we're interested in. Alador takes a ton of damage as the wave was crashed. But they won't find that trade back.
And the whole time, Schoenfire is just waiting for the crab, and he gets away with that. So, Skimmy, what do you do when you want to combo someone, but he just flies into the wall and disappears? But you can't really deal anything, you can't do anything to that champion all of a sudden. Now Schoenfire, not even going to go for the second crab, just going to go for that base, or maybe chunk out Kevy here.
Yeah, looking for a lot of damage on towards him. So many Skittles connecting, and enough to force Kevy to go back to base. That's exactly what Schoenfire wanted to do. And now Alador might be sending Kurak back to base as he's stuck up against the wall. Beautifully times the flash, but pounced on by Violet, who says, job well done. That's my first blood.
Yeah, huge mistake from Kurak there. The fact that he walked by himself to stop that recall when, they know that the bot lane of Bliss is so healthy. And also to Kevy's benefit, he's also really surprised the fact that Schoenfire didn't go for that top crab, but instead wanted to recall because, Schoen is prioritizing his tamp respawns, right? He wants to get those ones off the map as soon as possible, and he wants to finish his clear and be at those grubs when they spawn. It's so important that, you'd be on time all the time. And this top crab really doesn't change what is going to happen in this game right now. So good read by him, and then a good way to chunk out Kevy right there.
Once upon a time, we used to have a bit of a mini game over the Scuttlers, right? Or the jungler got 2, GG, they've won the jungle matchup. Not anymore, sadly. It's just a little icing on the cake, right? A little bit of vision. But bigger fish to fry, bigger objectives to claim.
Yeah, absolutely, and the biggest objective is going to be the grubs. We keep talking about it, but no one wants to take the first dragon. That's the consultation prize from being unable to contest the top side of the map. So we're probably going to see just more priority going towards that top side, especially with Bliss being able to push out this bot lane and Alador being freed up from them finding that 2v2 kill onto Kurak in the early game. It is so important for Alador to be able to impact this map. And now that he's finally on this, support with agency, he can really start to change the dynamic of this early game.
You certainly can, but it's going to be pretty rough swimming for Limus these early few levels, right? You can see that Violet is always keeping them humble, getting a CS lead, utilizing that Sheen proc, making sure that that 1 kill advantage goes in his favor. But we've seen this story a few times, and Limus also has been on the receiving end, right? Remember that game I will never forget where him and Benvi together looked to punish King on the Smolder, and he couldn't do anything. It was like, what, level 1 for the first 5 minutes. But the Smolder always finds a way to become relevant. As long as they can get to 200 stacks, I think Grand Zero are the best at farming his waves. If that happens, maybe, just maybe, they win. He's under siege again, however, as Kevy looks to try and set up the fight in his favor. Good flash away, protects him for the meantime. And now they found what they were after. The flash is being burnt. And that's a free ticket in for Schoenfire to say, with these objectives, you're not contesting.
Beautifully played by Kurek there. The fact that he lands the the Zenith Blade onto Kevy to be able to get out of that gank, did not have flash to himself, so if he was comboed by Aldora, compared that with the Stranglethorns coming out of Kevy, that would have been him falling down, but escapes out of that one, and all of a sudden, they are really chunked out. This bot lane is looking so difficult, Skimmy.
It really is looking difficult, but yeah, as we said, right, I mean, this is Grand Zero that are so great at hitting those waves. They'll always find a way to become relevant, so I don't think there's a doubt of when he'll get the 225 stacks. It's more so at what point, and will the game be done by that stage, right? But we are seeing that the games are getting a little bit longer now. They are starting to scale on up, and these crit scalers may just be the difference.
I think the new Smolder, well, I wouldn't say the new Smolder, the reworked Smolder, I think his changes came out on like 14.10 or 14.11, something like that. It's not the old Smolder, right, where he hits those 225 stacks, and it's just like, all right, GG, we lost, guys, hands up. Yeah, we've been outscaled. It's more so like he comes online, it's really nice when you get that 100, spikes, so you can farm much quicker, and then, the rest of the spikes throughout the rest of the game are just going to make you stronger. It's not going to make you OP. I think that Smolder, as the game goes on, when you do get to those, huge amount of stacks, the 400 plus, the burn true damage, and then the execute actually start to add up, and you do, especially with the amount of AoE coming out of this team, can find these kills. If a Requiem goes out on a Smolder Q, all of a sudden the burn proc is, the threshold is really, really hard to deal with as the squishy champions on the enemy team. There's only like, what, one true tank on the side of Bliss in the Alistair, so if this game does go long, Skimmy, I am once again afraid for what it looks like on the side of Bliss, because, if we do not see Harry go for that defensive build where we saw the Bloodthirster second come out of Limus and then scale up into the game, he could be a target for this team in Ground Zero.
He certainly could be, not only just a target for Schoenfire, but also for Tien. I think if this Renekton has a fantastic early game, it just absolutely destroys anybody that Bliss look to try and, step up against. There's a nice Zenith Blade around to Violet. He's forced to cleanse and flash away to safety. We'll just use the Arcane Shift in this occasion as he retaliates back and make sure that Kurek walks away worse for wear. But the blue was the prize. It's what they went for. It's what everybody's come together for.
And now this is, quite sad for Schoenfire, right? He went out of his, his full clear path to try and steal a camp, but he didn't get it. So all of a sudden, his timing, his efficiency throughout this game has been put off guard. And this is, not what we really see from Schoenfire. He's always trying to get his camps first before he goes for something aggressive. So this is a different look, and maybe, an evolution we're going to see throughout the series. But this all in.
It is an all-in. Both ultimates being committed here in the top lane as Bio switches back to Mini, so his kill pressure does diminish a whole bunch as a result of that one. So, bit of a nothing burger in the end. A chance to see what they can find more so than anything, as Harry has to be respectful in the mid lane. His flash is back up and available again, after having it burnt very early on from that roaming Karthus. But a much more quiet early game compared to what we've seen. Game 2 was really all about chaos and craziness. Game 1 was the biggest stomp. Game 3 maybe the more measured of them all.
Yeah, no, this is a different look, right, Skimmy, because we're used to seeing, Harry have a lot more pressure in the mid lane. Even in the last game, didn't really have it in the matchup, right, but he had that with the Alador pairing up with him in mid and finding those kills in the fighter. But this game, Fighter not having to go for any defensive options in his matchup, right, he's building purely to do damage and to find, really good trades. So that's the nice thing about laning into these champs like Zeri, who offer no presence in the lane. You can be greedy and you can get away with that, and that's very nice for Ground Zero, because so far throughout the series, their only weak point has been in the mid lane. And now that all of a sudden Fighter has got through the hardest part of this lane, he's going to scale immensely into this game. This is, very, very good looking for Ground Zero so far.
Imagine we hit the point where we say, you know what, forget any champion that uses Trinity Force, we just want crit scalers all over the map. And then we had the most passive, like, LCK style game of them all. Might break a record, not for the quickest one, but for the longest one, as we'd been held hostage there for hours, I'm sure. It is, as you mentioned, very important to get through that laning phase. Has been a bit of a weakness of theirs that they've stemmed the bleeding on for this occasion. Kurek then to go for a nice little roam, not level 6, There's no risk of that Solar Flare landing just yet. Aladoric, however, does have that ultimate up and available, and was hoping to do the same in mid lane.
4v4 on the grubs here. Everyone is pretty much even in terms of spikes. Shernfire is the main power of Grand Zero, has that completed armor already, whereas Kevy always going for those tier 2 groups before anything else. So have to see what happens because Bio does not have that Narbar right now, and they really need that one to be able to contest these grubs.
Yeah, they really are relying on that Nara to get involved at this stage because 3 grubs went the way of Grand Zero for the first spawn. The second spawn is up. That one keeps resetting, jiggling between Grand Zero's attention or Bliss's aggro threshold. And really is relying upon these top laners to poke their head in. They both have their ultimate up and available. Mega soon to follow. Feels like a fight is about to occur.
Yeah, and we just see Tien playing goalie here on Bio. You know, he drops the pink ward, so it's really hard to walk in, but does pop the Narbar there, but Aladoric
Right into the back line, found what he's after, and Shernfire is removed. That is the flash, a lightning crash to follow. As the Requiem will drop, it will tickle them at this very early stage, even with the Blackfire torch having being picked up, and it's not enough to deter Bliss from going for those grubs.
And that's just the easy pickup. You know, Shern didn't have flash there, so he gets punished, gets taken down, because we saw him burn that one when he went for those blue invade earlier. And all of a sudden, you know, what looked like this 44 standoff, the moment Shern falls down, everyone just goes back to their respective lanes like nothing ever happened, and this is finally Bliss having something to win in the early game, and Harry TPing back to the mid lane. Still doesn't have that shiv, but he's absolutely on track to getting these items and being online this game.
He's sitting on your favorite item though, isn't it? The slingshot. You absolutely love that one. So he'll find a bit of success with that to make sure he can get the select shiv in just a heartbeat. Blue buff is there, so he can continue to spam out these zaps to be a bit of a menace in the laning phase. But yeah, nothing too much to be lost on the occasion of we've gone for these grubs. We've tied it up at 3 out of 3. But it's not been the classic Grand Zero then pushing 4 different waves, and you go, how are we behind in gold?
I wouldn't even buy the item, Skinny. I'm too embarrassed to have it in my inventory.
It's that bad.
It's that bad.
Oh no.
I don't really call. You know, if someone posts a screenshot on Twitter of like me having that item in my inventory, it's done. Your career's over.
It's fake. It's photoshopped. It never happened. You heard it here first. There's the clip. And I'm sure you're a man of your word. You're going to stick by that. So much like the Corki skin, they're just rules to this, right?
There's just rules that need to be followed all the time, you know, especially, I think the Corki skin's a very important one, you know, but yeah, no one really seems to understand it, Skimmy, and over and over again, well, maybe we can somehow track the win rate of the Corki on the AD build, you know, specifically, but, you know, we are having a pretty slow early game this time. We saw a lot more action happening in that last game, but this is the objective up in the Dragon, and shown by no camps on the map. The next thing he wants to go for is that objective.
That he certainly does, and that's why he's in the area here with Kurek as they wrestle over some of that bush control. As one gets cleared out, another gets dropped. Really is a fun and interactive time to be a support player these days, right? Oh, your control ward is just a little bit better than mine, but in the end they do claim it, and what they really are after before that major objective in the Dragon is we just want to keep denying you with this blue buff.
Yep, and there's just going to be another camp stolen away by Shun. You know, we never really get to see Kevy in the enemy jungle stealing away camps because he's just, you know, kept on his toes dealing with Shernfire being so aggressive and trying to steal away any of these camps. And I think that, you know, the CS lead this game at least is being kept together, and that was so important. You know, last game we saw this lead come out from what we saw level 1 with the invade, the fact the camp timing's off. So, you know, while this game is very quiet, we are seeing a tiny bit of a gold lead going towards the Bliss side right now.
There we are. Certainly nothing too big to really scream home about just yet, but nice stun caught mid-animation. Again, goes for the slice. No dice on this occasion just yet. But he spins that cold and meek and tries to live for as long as he can. Kevy's is critically low. You wonder for a second there with the Requiem if Tien could have found another opportunity to jump back in, but in the end, the gank proves to be successful.
Yeah, I got a bit scared there for Kevy. He decided to walk in melee range even though he was playing a ranged champion, so maybe we forgot that he wasn't playing the Maokai this time, but they do find the kill, Skimmy. They do blow another record. That's 2 Karthus ultis and no kills found. That is such a big deal for this champion. You know, not getting those ultimate hunter stacks is so bad for this champion because it's such a long cooldown, especially since you build no ability haste on the champ.
Yeah, it's like a 3-minute cooldown early on, isn't it, right? So it's absolutely brutal. And you really need to find some success with that one, otherwise the Karthus can't balloon into that snowballing conversation. Well, a fairly neutral game in terms of how passive it's been. Objective-wise, it's been traded back and forth, but the next one on the cards is that Herald. And whilst initially started by Grand Zero, it's Bliss that commit more members to the area and claim it for themselves.
And this is what we expected, right? We thought Bliss would win the early game just because they have the Ezreal against the Smolder. They should have more priority around the map. I think that now, at this point in the game, the Smolder has scaled up enough. One item being completed, you know, you always go for the ability haste stacking early on. We have to see if Lemus does want to go for the Shojin second or, you know, go for some more. You know, we've seen the Rapid Fire as, you know, the ability to be able to navigate that range disadvantage is dealt with against the Ezreal and Corki. But at this point in the game, it's all about scaling, and I think that giving take stock of the game, the fact that you did get 3 grubs, you did get a dragon, they are in a completely fine point to be able to continue scaling throughout this, mid game.
Yeah, to have a fairly neutral game like this, you're going to be pretty content with to say, well, we can just really put it down to who's got the better mechanics and who's got the summoners available to outplay in that penultimate fight to close out this one, because it doesn't feel like we're going to see too much action anytime soon. First item spikes being picked up, though, by the majority of members, as Salk Shoes just done there by Schönfire. So it's certainly the first of many breakpoints for these individuals to feel pretty content about, but you'd imagine the majority of this is going to come once we see 2 items onwards.
Yeah, I think all these champs, or pretty much, I would say all the champs in this game, they all spike at the 2 item point skimmy, so expect to see that happen. But the aggression happening onto mid lane.
Yeah, Aladork's the one to get pounced upon just by Kurak, but it is enough to warrant an ultimate to get Alistair out of harm's way. And that's exactly what Grand Tour would have been hoping for, right? Because now the Alistair is incredibly squishy.
Well, they did find the unbreakable Aladork. There is no objective up for 2.5 minutes in the Infernal Dragon, so shouldn't be a punish happening out of the the side of Grand Zero onto Aladoric. They shouldn't be putting themselves in positions to go for those engages, but I think they'll still be completely fine to scale up. When we look at what these side lanes are going to look like, I think that we are seeing that gold lane happen right now, skimming for the side of Bliss, but this is where Grand Zero really shine. It's the mid game and the overall map play throughout this this 16 to 25 minute mark. So we'll have to see what really happens with that gold lead going forward.
Well, that's it. 0-3 right now. Still hunting for a kill, but pretty content to hunt for CS instead, as they'll find their first tower. Harry actually volunteered to go in for this one, and I think he's just dead. The Requiem's going to tick him on down. He lives a little bit longer than you would have anticipated, but enough for Fido to secure the kill. As Alador wraps around looking for that headbutt pulverized combo, and there it is. Goes the True Shot Barrage, not to land on anything, but Biped with the second stun guarantees that he wins that fight. Skittles are flying, Fido is flying, and members are dropping, as in the end it is Grand Zero that say we will win, and now the gold lead is back ours.
Huge misplay from Harry there, Skimmy. The fact that he went under a dead tower, he can clear the wave, of course. He has the static shiv, he has the E, so he can, penetrate through those minions. But going under the turret, look at the health. This is an objective that's already dead. He's contesting something that isn't on the map. I thought that there was, maybe the TP that was going to come out on that ward, but the fact that TP is so deep, he buys no time for this one, and he falls down before anything really happens. And it's just really easy for the rest of the members from Ground Zero to collapse and clean up all these kills. And Lemus, farming that mid wave, walks to the bot side of the map, farming the bot wave. He's the real winner here.
Absolutely. I mean, going to be very happy to say, well, as the Smolder, my team is winning. I'm farming. What more could I ask for? Quite simply, it does raise the question, what was Harry hoping to achieve with that play at the top lane tower? We'll never quite know, but Alador knows one thing. I want to kill the support. Jumps in on Kurak. We know that's just the worst mistake to make, as the Strangleforms and the True Shot Barrage both get committed. But they can't find the kill as they both flash to safety.
And they do get out, but that's still going to be the priority on the objective for Bliss. Not a lot of ults being committed there either. Only well, I would say 3 ults, but on the other side of Ground Zero, there is a lot of cooldowns happening there. And the fact that all of a sudden Bliss do have the control of this objective, they do have the priority in the bot side of the map, and they can answer that midway with Bio, is really big for this objective coming up. But without those ults, Skinny, being on both sides of the map, I think this is going to start to favor Ground Zero when we look at the inventories, especially Fido. He's so strong right now.
He's very, very content, isn't he? Got the most gold in the game. Only closely followed there by Lemus. And you can see a bit of a drop-off then for the Bliss members who are hoping to try and be the difference maker on this occasion. But to be close to 3K up as a team already showcases once again, like you mentioned, their mid-game is simply impeccable.
And I'm not like a Smolder, genius. I do not know what the stacks should really look like, but I think the fact that he is above 10 CS or 10 stacks per minute is a really big deal for the champion, because, the fact he's really going to come online at that 20, 21 minute mark with those 225 stacks, does have 2 items in his inventory alongside his, carry partner in Fido, is such a big deal for what these team fights are going to look like going forward, because Alador did go for that locket build, so while he is going for the correct item into the Karthus, he's not as tanky as he would be on the, having the Warmogs.
Absolutely. It's the dream to nullify that ultimate, but at the cost of your own ability to be individually incredibly strong. There is that Shojin, however, completed here by Lemus. You should imagine a rapid-fire cannon is on the cards for that third item, but at this stage, so much CDR, so much ability just to be that true spell slinger now.
Yeah, and that's just what we're going to really look like in these team fights, is we do see another slingshot in the inventory, Skinny.
Uh-oh.
Another one. No shame.
Well, Fido, he doesn't really care. He says, I've got the Doran's Blade, I've got the coal, I deserve to have a slingshot, you know what? I'm a kid at the end of the day. I want to have a little bit of fun in the park with my mates, getting roasted here by Tally on the car.
Undefended unable to respond, but you know, I think I want to touch on Harry's build. So we do see him go for the very classic, you know, Shiv into Hurricane build, where you can farm really fast, you accelerate getting your other items because your tempo is, you know, so high. But you know, maybe it might be the wrong read of how these team fights are going to work, Skimmy, because if we look at what this is really happening, they do not have a lot of damage to commit to these kills, but they do, they commit all their abilities. But Kurak,
What on earth did I just watch? The great escape from Kurak. They all jumped across. He went the other way and said, watch this, guys. I'll do a magic trick. I will summon Tien, who will clean up this fight for us. Right, guys? So as he falls on down, it's Lemus
Avengers.
that showcases, look, boys, we have a whole army. So you can't do much about this one. Forget that tower. Oh, actually, no, we respect that tower. We won't dive you any further.
And this, you know, potentially could be the Baron going. It doesn't look like it because we see Lemus teleporting back to mid lane, so they want to maintain control of the map. They're going to lose the spot lane turret from what we saw, but Ping's going onto the Baron here, CME, and this is probably going to be the objective going down if we do not see the teleports out of the side of Bliss being committed. Harry's respawn time is pretty short, 12 seconds left on that one. Do not think they do objective fast enough.
I don't think so. And you mentioned before not being that much of a Smolder connoisseur, but I saw 228 stacks. So this is an incredibly strong dragon, to say the least, as that Baron is not long for the world.
Violet.
It's gone. It's smite secured there by Schönfire. As the burn comes out, the execute threshold is getting closer and closer as Kurak tries to make that one secure for them. He arcane shifts to safety, but there is no safety to be found. Double picked up by Lemus. Baron secured on all 5 members, and they'll take 2.
And once again, we see Bliss having the control in the early game, but Tien on the side lane, no ult, no flash, Skimmy. Might be him going down.
Can Bai find anything? He doesn't have the flash, but he has the ultimate. He just needs to get in range. But Tien is so quick, but he can't outrange Anar. He can outrange Zeri. And they eventually remove at least 1 member. As Lemus says, well, watch this. And it just gets interrupted on the tail end there by the Zyra ult.
Doesn't get the last Q off the final execute onto Kevy, but still blowing the flash, getting priority in the mid lane. This champ is online. He is so strong now. You know, look at the items and inventories. He's on par with Ezreal, but he hasn't recalled. He hasn't spent his money from that Baron teamfight win. And this is the problem with this champ scheme. We keep seeing the Ezreal, you know, going even, doing a good job, getting priority, allowing support to roam. But we hit those, you know, even at this point, I hold my point is that fight is going to pop off here.
It does look like a fight is about to break out. There is no dragon to play for, but this is Ground Zero just rotating their pressure from mid into bot, where wave is prepped and primed to go. Fighters made sure of that one. They say they'll make light work of the wave to clear it out with that 2-item builds. But yeah, I think at this stage, the Smolder is more of an issue.
Yeah, absolutely going to be more than an issue. Curious to what Lemus wants to go for his third item though. You know, is it going to be something? Does he want to go for the defense item? I know Lemus as a player always likes to go for the you know, like the bloodthirsters, the shield bows, the options that give the enemy no chance to kill him, because he's always so good at farming, always so good at getting experience. So his the fact that he is so farmed allows him to build defensively and still output a same amount of damage. But Bio,
I mean, in what world do you see an AD carry just literally leap in front of a bruise and say, they're crazy? He just doesn't care. He will farm like you would not believe. Has the most in the game, second to none. And he's just rotating with the team. Always there for protection. It's up to Bliss to try and find an answer back into this one. Bio is under threat. He's getting closer to Mega, but Sterix gets popped instead. Shern's not here, bear in mind, so this will be a straight 5v4 defense in favor of Bliss. But they just sacrifice.
and this just feels so hard for Bliss, right? All of a sudden they're outranged. They do not have like the silent priority to find those flanks from the Zeri or the the Gnar if they wanted to. They don't really win the front to back either because there's a Bloodthirster being completed by Lemus. So he's so strong. He's also so hard to kill. And I think that, you know, while Bliss have prepared a good draft, I just think, once again, it's just coming down to scaling, Skimmy, every single game.
I know, and it's just frustrating to say as like a cop-out, oh, you know, Ezreal's the issue because it does so well in the early game, but it just feels like if we are going the distance every single time, give yourself that hyper carry and let yourself be the star of the show. We know that Violet has that in him, but a clear conscious decision from the Bliss draft that they want that fine balance.
And this might be Bliss, what Bliss feels like is their last chance to really attack this game. They're grouping up as 5. You know, this isn't the sole point, but this is an objective fight. This is going to be the 5v5. This is what they want. This is their time to shine, Skimmy. And we have to pay attention to their setup because Aladoric doesn't have the flash to himself, so it's really hard to get onto Lemus. But also Lemus, no flash. Tien with the flank coming in the bot side of the map. Violet, no summoners here.
Violet's in a lot of trouble right now. Very early arcane shift out for safety, and he is safe. Solid player won't connect. Fido instantly evaporates Biopember, who hits the ultimate, goes Mega, but it's just not enough. He's not tanky, and it's going to be a complete wipe here from the get-go by Ground Zero. Too strong, too squishy, and too easy to take on down.
And they can't even kill Kurak, Skimmy. This is only the 25th minute of the game, right? This is the 2-3 item spike. This is not even the worst of it. It's not even when the scaling really starts to kick in, but it doesn't even matter Ground Zero have kicked it up a gear. They have, just once again read the series really well. They have drafted scaling. They recognize these games are going the distance. It just looks so one-sided in these team fights.
It's just crazy to me, the fact that you can destroy Ground Zero as quickly and as cleanly as you did in Game 1, and you think, yeah, that will stick. That'll do a little bit of mental damage to them. They answer back Game 2 with their best champions, all their pocket picks, their Apex options, if you will. They look good on it. And now they come to Game 3 and say, we'll change a few different picks here and there. Scaling is the focus, and they're crushing you at 25 minutes. Lee Mulder, it's back.
Are we going to see the Lee Mulder Pentaskimmy? Are we finally going to see it again?
I really do. I really fingers crossed.
That would be the dream. As they are oversaying, they do not need to base. Even though they haven't reset up this last fight, they're still up in, effective income. They still have more items than their opponents, so they can stay on the map. They can't be greedy because there is no gold lead, or there is no, unspent gold in their inventories that will really change the game state right now. Oh, Bio.
What can they do to try and get themselves back to this one? Bio just wants to the ultimate, combines that with the True Shot Barrage. That's beautifully well done. Bio survives unless Tien tries to snipe him. No, the Requiem's going to end the party. Big one snipes it away for Fighto as Tien has the funnest time as a bruiser in the backline. Occupies all three members. Out comes the mum. Mum says hello, gives Ezreal a pat on the back and farms up a triple. Now, stuck against the fountain is Harry, having to literally 1v5. But he's close to execute range, and there is the quadra.
And it's as easy as that. Lee Mulder is back. I think it's a mistake to allow Lemus to have so much freedom on the spot lane, and we keep seeing this Ezreal 1-2 pick for Bliss every single draft. And Lemus, not once has he prioritized his champion. He is happy to play scaling. He's happy to play early game into it. He has the pick of the litter of what he wants to do for this draft, and so far he's had the read of the series, and he's been the MVP of this series so far for me.
That he certainly has there, Tally. What a phenomenal way to answer back. Now 2 games on the bounce here for Ground Zero to showcase that, yeah, you can crush us in Game 1. It does not phase us. That's what champions are built off. They've shrugged it off beautifully, and they've stuck to their guns in the end. And now, you've really got to wonder what is in store for this next matchup.
I'm very curious to what it's going to look like, Skimmy. I think there needs to be a change. I think there needs to be, is the answer really just the one scaling pick that'll change the dynamic of this game? Because what we're seeing so far is just not working.
Well, it's 2-1 at the break. It's Ground Zero already sitting on match point. Let's see if they'll get to claim back-to-back titles right after this.